That's been a long time coming. Finally got some magnetic tool holders to hold these pry bars on the side of this lift, because I used to set them in here, and when you looked at them wrong, they would fall over and be a pain in the ass. So we got them up here. The next thing I'm going to focus on, it was going to be this fuel tank, but I'm going to do this fan shroud first. Hopefully it will be a little bit easier to take care of, less labor intensive anyway. So I got a piece of flat aluminum that I'm going to cut basically at this tank and this tank. This bows down a little bit here, so it will be cut here and then here. I'm probably not going to be over top of this, because I don't want to risk putting a hole in either one of these tanks from the aluminum vibrating, even though I do plan on putting some of this underneath of it so that it can't really, it's not a metal to metal contact. I found a bunch of universal fan shrouds. Most of them weren't the right size for this, and most of them came with some bullshit fan. I don't want to use a junk fan. I already bought a good fan, so that's what I'm going to use. So that's what I'm going to use. The original plan was this fan shroud here. All right, so this fan shroud came out of a 2.5 ton dump truck. That's the story anyway. I got this with the 292 Y block engine that supposedly ran great when pulled, and that motor was junk inside. So didn't run great. I don't know if the guy fucking lied to me, or maybe his recollection was that thing ran great. I don't know, but I ended up not using it, and we rebuilt the one that came out of the truck. So the width of this one isn't correct. Not to mention that hole was way too big for the electric fan, so I would have had to try to cobble something together to fit the electric fan on here, and then also widen this, because those bolt holes didn't line up with these bolt holes. So that's the plan for the fan shroud. Let me show what I got to do it. So over here, we just have some flat aluminum plate, right? Nothing fancy. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Good fancy blue on the other side. Just peel it off if you're done cutting it. So after I get good measurements, I'm going to cut this with a jigsaw to the right rectangular size, hopefully. And then we're going to put the fan on here and try to get the proper dimensions for the circle. This is the fan I'm using. It's a Spall. It's a 16-inch. It's the highest flow fan that they make in this size that's a puller fan. So I'm not pushing, I'm pulling. So even if this thing is on going down the highway, it's not going to be fighting airflow coming through the radiator. It just uses spade connectors. I don't know if I'm just going to shove spade connectors in there, or if I'm going to, I'm probably not going to try to find this plug. I'll probably just put a weather pack or a Deutsch connector or something on there and use it instead. I'm not really sure. I'm probably just going to use spades, because if I'm being honest, this setup isn't staying in here that long. It's staying in here for Power Tour 2025. After that, this engine's getting pulled, and we're going to work on the chassis to put this in there. So I'm pretty sure I'm just going to do a Mustang 2 front end, triangular 4-link in the back. But back to what we were saying. So that's the plan for the fan shroud. This is the fan I'm using. It's a Spall. These are Ferraris, you know. And then the fuel tank. There it is. 22 gallon for a mid-60s Mustang. Now, it doesn't fit in here. It will fit in between the frame rails, but these two cross members are in the way. This cross member, I'm going to cut it out. We'll cut the rivets out, and then it's going to get turned 180 degrees. So, so the front of the tank sits on this. You can see how that sticks out further. So the front of the tank will get bolted to that cross member. This cross member with a radius, I'm planning on putting in between these two bolts for the bumper. I don't want to put the whole way back, because one, there's a bolt there for the bumper, and two, that's also where the bed bolts down, is these holes. So that's the plan for that. I got some aluminum fuel line up here in this box. I bought for a previous project. We're going to use it on this. It's 3/8. I have some 3/8 compression fittings for it, so it can go aluminum line and then a hose to the tank, so we have flexibility, nothing will break or whatnot. And the pickup tube for this thing uses 3/8 also, so that's how I landed on that. This wiring is eventually going to have to go. I'm going to have to redo this wiring and then extend the wiring for the fuel gauge, because we don't have any wiring back here for the fuel gauge. I did get a sensor that should work with the gauge that's in this truck. If the gauge works, I don't know if it works, because I never had fuel in this tank and this under hooked up. I just been using, this boat tank or a little tank to move this truck around. So hopefully that's all going to work out. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So I'm hoping to get all of this. I don't say all of this. I'm hoping to get the fan shroud and the tank and fuel line put in before this weekend, I guess. I have a term paper I'm going to finish tonight. I mean, hopefully I'll finish it tonight. It's not due tonight, but I need to get it out of my way. I've been covered up with work, covered up with school, and I would rather be working on this thing than dicking around with either of those two things. As I'm sure most people, feel the same. They'd rather do something they want to do instead of shit they have to do. So I'll go do that. I go to midterm on Tuesday. I'll go get my equation sheet and shit done for that. So hopefully we can get that shit knocked out. We can get this knocked out before Jake comes down here, and we put this motor back in with hopefully an electric fan working. I will just jerry-rig the power for the fan right now, because I'm sure I won't have time to do the relay and everything, which I'll tell you about that. And I want to get the fuel tank done so we can run it. So the fan, it's 12 volt. And this is what I'm going to use. I have a cross that's going to fit down in this intake manifold. This is a vent, purge air. This side goes to the heater core. This is the thermatic switch to control the fan. It's 180 degree thermostat. And the way that's set up is I'll have B plus to one side of the relay. I'll have ignition positive control the B plus side of the coil of the relay. The other side of the relay where the B plus is going from will be going directly to the fan. The negative for the coil side of the relay is going to go to the switch. The other side of the switch is going to go to ground. So whenever this thing hits 180 degrees, this switch closes. The fan turns on. Whenever this gets below 180 degrees, it's like plus or minus 4 or 5 degrees or something, I think, for this particular switch. Whenever it gets below that, this will open. The fan will turn off. That's how I'm planning on running it. I may put a bypass switch in here. I don't know if I will. I mean, worst case, I can always just jump it, you know what I mean? And if I get into a problem where I have to run the fan all the time, or that thermatic switch goes bad or whatever. But I'm sure it'll last as long as I need it before we do whatever else we're going to do this truck. We got this motor put in here. I've spent a bunch of money on this fucking motor and that transmission. I got a new wiring harness for the truck sitting over here from Painless. I don't think that wiring harness is going to make it in here before power tour. So I'm probably just going to make my own harness for the lights and the senders and the other bullshit that I need, and not worry about that wiring harness until we're ready to put the Godzilla in here. The front, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go with a CPP Mustang 2 because I can keep the 5x5.5. The back, I'm going to do a triangulated 4-link. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a kit for that or if I'm just going to have to make it myself. But my first thoughts on doing that are the parallel bars will probably be on the outside of the frame. And the triangulated bars that go to the top of the pumpkin will be on the inside of the frame. These springs will be gone. and we're going to use airbags. We'll probably just build perches underneath the frame, but this frame is going to have to be C-notched. So there's a bunch of chassis work we have to do to this thing before we put that in here. We're not putting 600 some horsepower into this truck with manual drum brakes and, 1950 suspension. That probably just would not end well. So here we are. I've been talking long enough. Thanks for hanging out. If you got some ideas about the radiator fan shroud, the fan, how I'm going to control it, the tank, how I'm going to move these cross members, whatever, I'll probably have already done it by the time you see this video. But go ahead and say something down there. I'll read it, listen to it, whatever. So I got to go do some shit, man. Have a good night.